Many car dealers are drowning in excess inventory. As we roll into 2026, for the dealers, it looks like a crisis. For the buyers, it could be an absolute win because many of these dealers can't sell specific models. 2023, 24, and 25 models are still sitting in mass abundance. 80, 90% and beyond means that you can go in there and get a massive deal because iSeeCars.com collected the data on a group of vehicles that the dealers simply can't sell. Well, I'm going to share those lists of vehicle with you today so you can go in there and get yourself a smoking deal. Let's get into it now. Life's too short to drive boring cars. As 2026 is upon us and these dealers are still carrying 2- and 3-year-old vehicles, it means floor plan costs. That's their cost of doing business, and renting and leasing on each one of these vehicles means it's costing them to own these vehicles. And that means you can get a deal because they're especially hungry to unload some of those cars that have been around for 6 months, a year, and beyond. A lot of the Jeep Grand Cherokees like this, they made way too many. Unfortunately, on top of it, they made them for a high amount of dollars. And you know, Stellantis got overzealous on their pricing. Yeah, they gave you some fancy gloss wheels, which might cost in manufacturing an extra $50. Created some really stylish vehicles, but unfortunately the quality, the durability isn't there to match with the extraordinary prices that they put on there. See, the Jeep Grand Cherokee is a vehicle that definitely a lot of people love. The styling is very handsome. I've even got a relative that has this late model Jeep Grand Cherokee and they blew an engine right outside of warranty. Unfortunately, the quality durability isn't exactly there, but at 70.8% of the outstanding inventory for 2024 means you can get a smashing deal on these vehicles. It's a heavy duty, large and in charge SUV. Quality is kind of marginal at best. That being said, it's very popular. People love them. Of course, a lot of people will just only buy Jeeps because of the Jeep style, and of course, they've been around a long time. If you want to go off-roading, you get all of the great amenities, LEDs, which light up that trail for you, mirrors, which are easy and bump-proof, plastic shrouding, which means it can take a hit when you're running through the bush and you're scraping the trees. Of course, you get lots of great detailing on the back and LEDs, but unfortunately, at just about 71% of the outstanding inventory of 24, means the dealers are choking and drowning in these Jeep Grand Cherokees. However, that could be a real big win for you. And there's the next dumpster fire on wheels that's not selling particularly well. 2025 model years, they still have over 80%, about 80.6% of their inventory left. That's right, there's a ton of these Volkswagen Taoses kicking around. Yes, a lot of it has to do with the turbo 3-cylinder engine, the quality control problems, fueling, recalls, you name it. Electrical gremlins, the quality of the components that put together, PCV valve, drivability challenges, and even though they put a torque converter auto in this generation, in this latest update, it still didn't catch on. People still had that reminiscent of that DCT or the dual clutch gearbox, which was a little bit rough. Yes, you get the little LEDs and beautiful Volkswagen wheels. Of course, you get the roof racks. One of the least reliable products on the market today, of course, look, fake. This is all fake inside. So should be of no surprise if in fact you want to get into a price point Volkswagen like this with a little 3-cylinder turbo engine that potentially will hit oil burning technology well within 40 to 50,000 miles. This might be your bet, but you're probably going to get a smoking deal. And unfortunately for Volkswagen, they're just drowning in a lot of these vehicles. 2025s, 2024s, you betcha. Get your deal today. There's another car, sadly, is not selling. And this is one of the best ones on the list. Of course, it's definitely worth buying, but unfortunately at $50,000 for a small Toyota, we've got the GR model, which is a hot little hatchback. Look, you get the big flares, beautiful GR. Look at the flares in there, beautiful black alloys, big overhang here. Hot hatch is an understatement. Of course, beautiful taillights. The GR Corolla is one of the most beautiful cars that they've produced and one of the hottest, sportiest vehicles that Toyota is currently producing. Big, beautiful red calipers, massive brakes, vents all over, and look at this flare detailing right here. Who doesn't want a vehicle like this? These are absolutely gorgeous, because sadly enough, 83.2% of these 2025 GR Corollas are still sitting on the lot. Now, there's not a lot of them ordered, but in terms of overall volume that were produced, mass majority of them are out there. And yes, those that buy them love them, but unfortunately, they're clearly not going like hotcakes. There have been recalls, engine fires, there's been some catastrophic failures, but largely it's a Toyota product and it's very, very reliable. They're hungry to sell these. If you're interested in buying a 25 as we roll into 26, that's even more firepower for the dealers to try to move these down the road. You might want to go in there and try to negotiate and get one of the best, hottest hatches on the market today. Here's one that's been around. 83.9% of these still on the lot for 2025 means that you can get a great deal. Now, they're wonderful cars, but unfortunately the V35A, which is their twin turbo 3.4 liter V6 that they've just installed in these vehicles, have had some problems problems, there's some recalls, the reputation's hurting them, and that can actually win for you. As a buyer, you might be able to get yourself a great new full-size Lexus. Now look, you have all the latest technology, big mouth grille, and this is pretty much their flagship SUV. The beauty is it's a Lexus, it's a Toyota, but I've got to believe that some of these problems are going to go away. The rest of the vehicle is absolutely amazing. The transmission, the electrics, it's absolutely flawless. And these are definitely some of those vehicles you're going to want to go down to the dealership, drop some cash down, and potentially work out a deal, because these are wonderful cars. There's still a ton of these on the lot. You're going to want to call your local dealer and get yourself a new car in your driveway. We have a 2025 Subaru BRZ. Now they're good cars, they're fun. Rear-wheel drive, 4-cylinder engine, naturally aspirated with a manual gearbox. It's fun, it's sporty. The Subaru BRZ at 87.1%. Where are all these enthusiasts, the people that want these affordable sporty cars? Nobody's driving them. Everybody wants an SUV these days, it seems, and this no longer really has a whole lot of market. It seems the market share is shrinking, and a lot of people just choose other items. And of course, it's a great looking car. Now this one has some aftermarket updates. Look at the little details there, aftermarket wheels. Now if you track it hard, you might have some issues. Of course, they say there might be some oil starvation problems, but if it's a car that you just want to have a little fun, do a little mild autocrossing and hit the twisties on the back roads and have a lot of fun doing it on a mild budget, the Subaru BRZ will do it. But unfortunately, nobody's buying them. So much, in fact, so look, it's buried under the snow. Nobody cares, nobody's asking, nobody wants it. And 87.1% of the 2025s are still kicking around, means you're gonna get a smoking deal. There's no way you can't walk into a Subaru dealership and say, look, you're gonna knock some money off and you're gonna throw in some extras. And if they don't wanna do that, walk away, because nobody is buying these cars, which means you have a buying power. And that means you can get into one of these cars for relatively cheap dollars, get your negotiations, get your deals in there, pull out the cash, pull out the wallet, and you're gonna get yourself a wonderful car for pennies on the dollar. The next one's a Lexus GX 550 here, with about 87.8% of these still on the lot from 2025. There is a lot of inventory to pick from. You can get a lot of these Lexus vehicles, the GX 550, and it's a lot of dollars, it's a lot of money, and you get 3-row, you get all kinds of greatness, but unfortunately, there have been some troubles with that 3.4 liter V6, the V35A. This, in fact, is one of those vehicles that I love. I've definitely wanted to own, and I'm gonna wait till Toyota actually fixes some of the problems, but there are some opportunities to get a smoking deal on these. With 87.8% of these around on the lot yet for 25, there's clearly some strong incentives. There's gonna be some motivations for the dealers to move these down the road. Lexus, beautiful brand, beautiful vehicles, definitely for the win. And this one here is the worst on the list right now for 2025. It's an expensive electric car. That's right, BMW i4 is one of those that's sitting with a ton of these. 89.2% of these on the lot still currently for 2025 model years, means that at $70,000 and up, it's a pricey vehicle. And yet, what we're starting to see is the EV market starting to soften and slide, and this is just proof. I mean, even with the great detailing, you get nice flares here, you get red calipers, big blue decals right there, wonderful mirrors, nice handles. It's a very, very nice looking unit, but unfortunately, people are not all that interested in the BMW i4. It's not all that unreliable. You do get the fun grille on the front end, of course, the bucktooth style. You get the laser cut rims here, simple handles, a load of technology, but at $70,000, less and less people are interested in buying these vehicles. Rather, most people are still gravitating, if you're going EV at all, Tesla still seems to own the market share. Now, these are great vehicles and they're fun, and I've driven them, and they are a hoot, but they're not cheap and they're not selling. And unfortunately, at close to 90% left on the lot for 2025, and we're rolling into 26. This is a true crisis for BMW. They're gonna have these cars sitting and piling up on the lot, means you're gonna get a smoking deal. Walk in there, throw some cash down. If you've got some extra money to throw around, you're gonna get yourself an amazing deal on a beautiful car. But if you've been shopping and you're not necessarily sold on these vehicles, check those videos. They're gonna help you along the way if you're looking for something new, fresh, and inspiring. Hope to see each and every one of you real soon, everybody. Bye-bye.